The year was 2016. The Golden State Warriors and Cleveland Cavaliers were only in year 2 of their seemingly endless reign of terror through the NBA, where the Cleveland Cavaliers would eventually win and LeBron would deliver the most infamous/famous line, I think, in NBA Finals post-game interview history.
Cleveland! This is for you!
The Chicago Bulls, on the other hand, they were not so lucky. They just finished the season with a 42-40 record, just barely missing out on the playoffs at the 9th seed. And in that offseason in June, the unthinkable happened. It was a tough time to be a Chicago Bulls fan. On one hand, you have Jimmy Butler, one of the NBA's premier up-and-coming stars in the league. And then on the other hand, you have a guy who is trying to hold on to what he once was, and a bunch of fans turning on him because, well, the doctor said you're cleared to play. Why aren't you playing? Derrick Rose was coming off of a relatively lackluster season compared to his previous ones, where he averaged 16 points per game. And as I mentioned, the Bulls finished with a 42-40 record. So we weren't one of the NBA's top teams anymore. And unfortunately, you had a bunch of fans saying, well, the Bulls should trade him. We have Jimmy Butler, yada, yada, yada. And, well, eventually that would happen because in June of 2016, the Chicago Bulls traded Derrick Rose for Robin Lopez, Justin Holiday, and Jose Calderon. This was one of the weirdest points in Derrick Rose's career. The kid from Chicago who brought the Chicago Bulls back to relevancy, and not only that, almost made them a championship contender again, is traded to the New York Knicks for a bag of chips and a soda. And really, nobody knew what to make of it. Nobody knew what to make of this team or Derrick Rose at this point in his career. But I think he was there to really prove people wrong this year. Derrick would go on to have his first game as a New York Knick on October 25th, 2016, where he would score 17 points on a 7-for-17 shooting split, 1 for 2 from 3, with 1 assist. Now, those don't sound like MVP Derrick Rose type numbers or even All-Star Derrick Rose type numbers, but from all the hate he was getting in the offseason, from Chicago Bulls fans to people speculating on this trade, saying, why would you trade for Derrick Rose? He's washed up, yada, yada, yada. This was a good game for him. A lot of really good moves. Again, he did have that block, and he did have a really good game. And this was off to a pretty good start, I would say, as a New York Knick for Derrick. So fast forward a few months, and this weird season for Derrick Rose gets even weirder. On January 9th, 2017, a report comes out that Derrick Rose is not with the team. Now, this is just before a game against the New Orleans Pelicans, and Derrick Rose hasn't told anybody, no media people, nobody in the Knicks front office where he's going, but reports then come out that he went back to Chicago to be with his family.
First time I ever felt like that emotionally, and I had to be with my family. I didn't want to take any calls at the time. I just needed that space to myself and needed to be around my mom. Things happen, and of course that's not the person that I am. I explained to my teammates I didn't want any distractions to the team, especially what we have going on right now. And I apologized to them earlier, just letting them know that that it never happened again. People are trying to find out or figure out what's going on with the team. So I put that on myself with not telling the Knicks, and just it was just bad timing, you know. But I'm not perfect, far from it. And like I said, the front office and my teammates, they knew where I was coming from when I told them what happened.
So after this temporary and worrisome hiatus from the New York Knicks, Derrick Rose would come back against the Philadelphia 76ers and ball out. He would have a great game, scoring 25 points on 11 for 16 shooting. This was a much needed game, man. I mean, Derrick Rose, just the whole world was just on his back because the man just needed to see his family. It's a bit of a interesting way that he went about it, but at the end of the day, I mean, you just got to understand Derrick Rose is a family man. He was away from his son for the first time in his entire life. He was away from Chicago all the way in New York, and Derrick Rose just needed to go home and refresh his mind. Should he have talked to the front office? Of course, he should have. But I mean, this game against the Sixers was much needed. Derrick Rose's 2016-17 season, even though it wasn't as great and as dominant as his MVP years or even his All-Star years, it was still a very good season. I mean, he averaged 18 points per game, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, and shooting 48% from the field. Now, again, I want to stress this. I know those aren't MVP Derrick Rose numbers, but considering all the stuff he's going through, he's on a brand new team, all the ridicule he was getting off the court, this was still a pretty good season for Derrick Rose. It was heartbreaking to see him get traded to the Knicks, but in a weird way, I think something like that needed to happen so he could clear his mind and really know his worth. One of the most special moments, in my opinion, was when he came back and played against the Chicago Bulls at the United Center in November, where he would score 15 points, 11 assists, and 7 rebounds. And obviously before the game, they had that very touching tribute to him and Joakim Noah. And man, just seeing Joakim Noah tear up watching that video was insane. You know, because that's when it really hit that they're both no longer Chicago Bulls anymore. So it was a weird season. I didn't like seeing him in the New York Knicks jersey, but at the end of the day, I mean, I really think he needed that. Now, he would go on to sign with the Cleveland Cavaliers in the next offseason, where he wouldn't have a good season at all. He would only play less than like 10 games with them, where then he would get traded to Utah. They would release him, and he would eventually sign with Minnesota. And since then, Derrick Rose, he's come back. He averaged 18 points in his full season with Minnesota, and then he would average 18 points again this year with the Detroit Pistons before the season was ultimately suspended. So I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Sorry I haven't uploaded in a couple weeks. As I stated in my previous video, my mic broke and I had to get a brand new one here. And this one's even better. I really like this one. So it's a Blue Yeti. So hopefully it stays around for a lot longer than the other one. But again, really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Please like and subscribe, turn on that post notification bell, and I'll see you guys next time.